Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Science Podcast. And this time I would like to talk to you about being addicted to productivity. And I see this all around in academia. And I think it is a true type of addiction. I still feel like I'm I'm addicted to productivity as well, because it feels so good, right? When you're super productive, you're flying through your to-do list, it's all good, there's quality coming out of your fingers, you're writing that paper or that discussion or whatever, that flow, that is so nice. And every time, whenever you're getting paper published or something done, you can really mark that thing off your to-do list, then it gives this little dopamine shot in your brain that you did a good job, and it feels satisfactory. You feel fulfilled at the end of the day when you get so many to-dos done, or whenever you really made a lot of progress. And I think even more so in academia, addicted to productivity is also about feeling valued and sort of getting the confirmation that you're a good scientist or that you are fit for the job, for instance. And every time a paper gets published, for example, that is another paper you can put on your resume as well. So it's also about building that resume and fighting off the competition, dealing with all the pressure. And, whenever you have something done or have a paper published, that means that you are building that expert status and you're building your own brand as a scientist, let's say. So I think every time you get something done, you get a paper published, this sends a dopamine trigger throughout your brain, which feels nice. And that's also the dangerous thing, because as we know from addiction, it's the substance that is getting that dopamine flowing and makes you addicted and makes you crave. Because let's be honest, if you haven't published a paper in a while, or you have an unproductive day, or maybe even an unproductive week or a few months, then you start craving that productive feeling again, right? That you want that flow again, that you want to get something done, make progress. And I think that's also a reason why we keep going. So why you keep working so hard, why you keep working that many hours. There's a lot going on in the academic environment, the expectations from your supervisor, the pressure, competition, and all that. But this is, I think, also a sub part of that. It is whenever you feel productive, that feels good. So if you don't feel productive, you don't feel good about yourself. But the whole thing is, of course, that unproductive days, weeks, months even, are also part of the process and part of the job. You can't be productive all the time. And I know you know this, right? You know that this is not doable to be productive all the time. But you also keep comparing yourself with yourself whenever you are productive. So you feel like, I should be able to do this, right? I should be able to get all these things done today. And you start to plan in a very optimistic way. Maybe you even plan whenever you feel productive, and you plan like you'll be this productive every day. But it doesn't work like that. So you cannot really plan productivity. But the fact that it feels so good, that it's sort of the addiction in academia, I believe, we keep on going and we keep on forcing it. And that is, of course, a pretty dangerous thing, especially when you're a bit, at risk for developing burnout, for example. You cannot keep up with that. And the more you force it, the more you try to be productive whenever you're clearly not. On those days, when you try and force it, it frustrates you even more, right? Because you then keep staring at your screen like a blank page and nothing comes out of your hands. And that's so frustrating. And it is so frustrating because you're actually looking for that flow, for that productivity to kick in. But sometimes it just doesn't. You can force it a little bit, like having a morning routine, for example, to get you in the right mindset and mood. Or what we do, for example, with the Pomodori parties is that we all gather together to create this vibe, let's say this productivity vibe to work. And if you see the screens of other people who are working, and we also combine it with some fun and breaks, then it really works out very well, and you'll be productive, almost no matter what. But sometimes it's just one of those days that it isn't happening. And when you're trying to force it, it will get you even more frustrated and feel even more bad about yourself. So you get into this negative, like, spiral or vicious cycle. So I would say, whenever I do that, whenever I try and force it, because I sometimes still do, and it takes some time to check in with yourself and be like, oh shit, I'm doing it again. And be conscious about it. But whenever I catch myself doing that, I try to really take some distance. Like, literally change the environment. So go outside is a go-to for me. Or go for a walk, or do something completely different, like go and make some nice lunch, or doing some household chores, or meeting up with someone, or go to the gym, whatever works for you. But that is, I think, it feels, then you get some like new energy. You change the scenery, so you get some new insights, some new input, and it makes you, maybe later on that day, makes you being more productive. And sometimes it's just not happening. And then apparently you just need some time to rest, time to reflect, or whatever. And please make sure you take that time. A productive day will come along. Please trust in that. And I know that's easier said than done, but it really is. It really works like that. And if you keep forcing it, if you feel frustrated about it, then you also waste energy that you might need, for example, tomorrow, which would be a more productive day. But because you're so frustrated, then that day won't be productive either. So you keep going actually further from your goal of being productive. So I'm not saying this, I'm not telling you this because I think you should be productive all the time, and because just, some days are just not productive, and that's totally fine. I'm telling you this to, take a good look at your choices, at your priorities, what you spend time on, where you want to be productive in. Is it your own project or is it someone else's project? And whenever you are productive, please spend it on the most important thing. That is your thesis, or your own research project, or whatever, what you have to do then for your contract and your what you want to learn, what you signed up for. And whenever you have an unproductive day, in that day, maybe the other tasks that have not gotten your priority are just, not happening that day. And also I'm also telling you this because don't be too hard on yourself. Don't force it too much, because no one is productive all the time. Although it might look like that, especially when your supervisor, for example, is working at night, or even, in the evenings, or even at night. You feel like, oh, this person is like working all the time, productive all the time. No, even that person is not productive all the time. But though, you only see that email, or you only see the feedback that's coming in, or, it's not the entire picture. So stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to yourself with your productive self. Just take it day by day. And it's good to have a plan. It's good to have a goal, but don't force it. And when you think about why you want to be productive. Is it because of that flow feeling that you actually have done something and it sort of confirms that you're a good scientist and it fits you and you're good at it, and whatever that is for you? Or if it is because you actually want to bring something in the world that you love, or really learn yourself what you want to learn. Is it more an internal motivation, and does it just feel nice, and do you work on the things that actually matter and have priority? I think that is way more important than getting that confirmation about, that you're doing a good job, because that will never be enough. That confirmation is never enough, and you need a new shot. You need a new productivity shot of dopamine later on to again confirm that you're doing a good job. So that's a never-ending story, right? So I'm wondering about what is the underlying. I think there is a productivity addiction going on in academia for a lot of people. Also for definitely supervisors who tell you, oh, maybe you can do another paper, because then they have they supervised another paper and they can put it on their resume as well. Because they are hungry for putting themselves on the map and putting themselves out there, and getting more papers with their name on it. So I definitely think that there is a productivity addiction going on in academia, but I'm not sure. I'm not really clear on what drives this mostly. Is it the competition, and with that, for example, the fear of not being good enough to fit in, so that's why you're trying to do it? Or is it just because of the feeling of flow that it gives you, like a more pure addiction? So I'm wondering, what your thoughts on this subject are, and please let me know. Comment down here, or look me up on Instagram and DM me. It's all good. I'm very curious on whatever you think of it, how you feel about me calling it a productivity addiction, and if you're suffering from it as well. I can definitely say I am. It's always a challenge to not be taken by that productivity flow, because it feels so good. Just let me know. I'm curious, and hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I gave you some insight, and that you can take with you today. So have a good morning, afternoon, afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're watching or listening, and hope to hear from you.